Hello and welcome to a very special first of its kind video that's going to be featured on my channel. I originally wanted to call this segment I Don't Like It But It's True, but I firmly believe that like words are kind of like talismans, if you believe that, and they do actually mean something. So I don't want it to be like a negative thing. I want to make this very positive of an experience, and I wanted to share some things with you guys. So I'm going to call this Shanice Thinks, because I just think about this stuff, you know? So today we're going to be talking Netflix, we're going to be talking about COVID-19, and we're going to be talking about some interesting news that I heard about that I just thought was interesting. So let's talk about it. Okay, so first let's talk about two of my Netflix top favorites, love-hate relationships first. The first one is not really a love-hate relationship because there's not much to not like about it. It's definitely a like. And the show is Bridgerton. So if you haven't yet watched Bridgerton, it came out on Canadian Netflix as of December 25th, and I absolutely am in love with this show. Not only am I in love with the fact that Shonda Rhimes is the one who helped bring it to life, I'm also in love with anything that's like, you know, aged royalty, kind of glamour, kind of old money type of era. And anything that touches on, you know, women's rights and the movement and how we even got here as a society. I love all of those things. So Bridgerton kind of just like bridged my fantasy gap of like Pride and Prejudice and like Gossip Girl. Basically, it's the only way I can describe that. And it is such a good show. So I'm just gonna go through what I liked so far about it. So personally, I loved the way that they incorporated modern feel to this like old type century stuff, because usually with these period pieces, it's got a potential of being boring. Like Downton Abbey, I found like really all-consuming and really cool, but I know some people found it dry because of the way that everyone had to present themselves and carry themselves, and it's very like, it can be very staunchy of a show, very like, you know, not as contemporary as some people like. But with this show, a major plus is that they incorporated modern elements, like playing Ariana Grande's Thank You Next on a violin as part of like some of the scenes in the show is just, I think was just gold. They played a lot of other modern favorites as well, so I really love that they incorporated that sort of feel, and it's very much into Shonda Rhimes kind of land, right? Because when I think of like shows like How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal, a big thing is that the way that they're written makes it not only seem dramatic, but that the music carries you in a way, right? So I love when it's perfectly pieced together like that. I think Shonda Rhimes is a genius. Obviously she had help from a bunch of other people, but I think that element, whoever the music person was, that really meshed in together with the whole experience. I also loved that they incorporated some game playing, because obviously since it's been touted as this like Gossip Girl-esque type of show, you're expecting the drama, but the way that they had the main characters team up in a way to make it seem like they weren't interested in each other, to add that sort of element of like, you know, betrayal on that level, or like major theme of trust. Those things I thought were really cool, that they had that from the get-go, that they weren't just two attractive people who got together and had a baby. They were two attractive people who said, we're gonna play this game to the right because we both come with baggage and certain expectations that we're not really willing to like just throw away just because we just met each other. So I love that element, that it wasn't just like, oh, damsel in distress and like strong man. It had to be like, no, we're gonna compromise, we're gonna work together as a team, we're gonna see how we do, but there's like this burning element underneath it all, right? So I thought that was amazing. And then of course my favorite character on this show that you will grow to love if you have not yet watched this, is Eloise. I think she is a very smart, good character that it is very important to have on the show. Eloise's whole thing is that she doesn't see the point in only aspiring to marriage, which I think rings true with a lot of like the modern generations of women. Like, it isn't necessarily a prize just because somebody chose to marry you and is throwing a bunch of money at you. It's like, it really like spoke to the undertones at that time. Like, why are women being suggested to less than men just because they are women? Like, it does have its benefits in that at that time, child rearing and childbearing was seen very differently. Like, if you were with child, it was a very blessed thing, and your husband usually, like, if you were married into an affluent family, your husband would cherish that. They wouldn't stress you out, like, you know what I mean? It was seen as a huge honor, which is great. But it's also like you can't really go certain places after a certain period of time without a man, or else it seemed like it'll ruin your reputation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're basically, once again, aspiring to marriage. Your entire life is basically focused on what these men could think of you when you have your own life and circumstances as a person. So I think Eloise's character spoke to that very well. I loved her jabs throughout the show and her like pointing things out and being curious and being inquisitive. And I love that they touched on that element exactly. As you can see, I'm very much a big fan. So that was some things I loved about Bridgerton. Yeah, and then moving on to The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina came out in Canada, I'm Canadian, season 4 as of December 31st. So right before New Year's, basically New Year's Eve, this show came out. And I binged it, okay, because I love I love the original Sabrina series. I grew up watching the one that was like, ran from 1996 to 2003 with Melissa Joan Hart. But seeing like this new Sabrina really intrigued me originally, and I loved how dark and gory it was, and it was a different tale than the like lighthearted one that you had in the 90s. It was very much like more nitty and gritty, and I love that kind of aspect. And in specifically season 4, spoilers, just saying spoilers out there, I am going to be revealing some things. I am in love with the fact that they finally killed Father Black. I have been waiting for it for about like 3 seasons now. And they finally killed off this man. His storyline was, I don't think, was meant to go this far. And they basically used him as a pawn throughout season 4 because they had nothing else to do. So they just used it as his like reign of terror with all these plagues. But I love that they finally got to kill him, and I love that Prudence was the one to do it. I feel like it was the right way to go. She wanted to kill him from the get-go, so it only made sense. So I love that. And then also, I feel like what I really liked was getting to see more of Rosalind's story, getting more to see about the cunning, because you don't get to see a lot of like Black Witch shows that aren't like super like, you know, like she's going through a bunch of terror and like loses a bunch of people like all the time. You know what I mean? Like I like that we got to see a little bit more facets of her and like the strength that she has, and not just that she's like this seer, this visionary that is like a classic trope, like, you know, like the Black visionary seer or whatever, that shows up in a lot of like movies and stuff at the time. I like that they really went further with that. I would like to see it go farther, which I'm gonna talk about a little bit more later when I'm talking about things like I didn't understand. Yeah, I mainly like adore Rosalind's character in general, so definitely if you want to watch the show, if you haven't already seen it, this is already a spoiler, so if you watch the show, definitely make sure to look out for that because I thought it was amazing. And I also liked that it did pay homage in a way to the original Sabrina that I watched, and that I was a fan of, because I know that people who are my age who saw that would have loved to see the crossover. So I love that they brought Hilda and Zelda back, and they had like this zany world, and they finally let Salem speak. That was one of the things I was like, what? When I saw the new one, Salem doesn't speak, but he's like the comic relief. But it's because they want to keep it dark. I understand. Can't have too many characters running around being mischievous, but I love that Sailor was in a way like the last bad boss kind of thing, because he was mad cool. So that was awesome. But then when we're talking about what I didn't understand, okay, let's get into this. Okay, with Bridgerton, I only have one gripe, right? I just want to know why they revealed who the basically like the gossip girl of the show was at the end, Lady Whistledown. Why did they reveal that at the end, unless they're gonna start completely fresh with season 2, which I think they have to do because they basically like sped up the wedding and the birth of a child in the last part. But I thought it was, I would have loved to see more kind of development, especially since I loved characters like Eloise. Like I wanted to see more of like their stuff. But I guess, who knows? We'll see more as it develops because season 1 just came out. Season 2 should be, I hope, more interesting in a way, but I just didn't understand that particular quirk. I thought they could have kept it running for a little while longer at the very least. And I was expecting them to, so maybe that's even why I'm more thrown off by it, because I was expecting it to happen. But yeah, moving on to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Okay, so some things I didn't understand. Why bring Father Black back just to do some plays just so Prince can kill him? They could have killed him off in season 3, I feel like, especially since season 3 was like a little bit all over the place. I feel like they could have killed him off and used a new premise for season 4, but they didn't do that, obviously. But I really didn't understand the plagues. I thought it was kind of like boring in a sense, like, you know, like all of a sudden he's calling all these people to like end the world, and the world just consistently like doesn't end because of course Sabrina and them like figure out everything along the way. So it kind of felt like a really weird Easter bunny hunt that I didn't ask for. If that makes sense, because by the time they introduce it and then that's his plot, you just know the rest of it is them defeating these plagues, obviously. So it took the fun out of it, kind of. I loved the twist of them throwing in the original characters from Sabrina from the old one, but I thought it was like kind of boring a little bit after a while. And then also, a part that really did throw me and was kind of good and bad was Lilith killing the devil's baby. So I found this to be a really great twist because it shows how far Lilith herself as a character was willing to go to like kind of play the devil. However, I don't think it was the greatest storyline for her because the ultimate damnation and then her being like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like her character didn't deserve that way to go out. I feel like they could have done it a different way. It was definitely a unique way to do it, but I don't know, that's just me. I didn't understand Cassius's character very much. I didn't understand like having the double Sabrinas if they were really only gonna address it in one episode. Like all of that, I was like, okay, what? This is just where we're going. Kind of like when Riverdale decided to go left with Jughead dying for no reason, but you know, people do that. So I think with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, my biggest problem is that it's been weak. Like season 3, I felt like left me feeling a little bit like wanting more. Like I didn't like some of the tangents they went off on, I wasn't really there for, and it was a lot of like, you know, singing and overly fluff. But then again in season 4, when they just bring Father Black back to do like, you know, I guess the ultimate showdown that I guess he ultimately deserved, but he went on the run, like, you know, so that portion in general, interesting, but kind of boring. After a while, those are the things that I didn't understand. You may feel differently. If you do feel differently, please feel free to like, you know, tell me how you feel. Like what parts did you like and didn't like from season 3 going into season 4, or just season 4 itself. Like, what do you think necessarily is the reason why it could take you out of the show? Because I feel like I wasn't fully invested throughout seasons 3 and 4 like I was throughout 1 and 2. That could also just me being bored because we're all stuck inside for a little while, but I think legitimately I expected a little bit more, but we got what we got and it was okay. So let me know in the comments below. And would I recommend? So welcome to the Would I Recommend portion of the day. And in terms of Bridgerton, yes, I 100% recommend watching Bridgerton. I think it is a good show. I think you'll enjoy it regardless of if you enjoy period pieces or Gossip Girl or anything like that. I think it's like a good, well-rounded show. They've got good representation for the most part. The characters are interesting enough that it wants you to at least keep watching a little bit. Like, I even introduced it to my boyfriend who's not really into this type of stuff at all, and he enjoyed like at least a portion of it because it's so kind of scandalous. So I definitely think Bridgerton is a watch just to see how it goes since it's only the first season. And then in terms of Sabrina, I would recommend, if you haven't, first of all, if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes and you're watching this video, spoilers, go watch the first 2 seasons and come back. But in terms of season 3 and 4, I feel like you could watch seasons 1 and 2 and be perfectly content with your life, unless you, like me, need to see where it goes and continue watches and then looks kind of disappointed. But season 3 and 4, I mean, watch them if you want to. Season 4, I thought at least was creative, so at the very least, you'll get a little bit of the Father Black rage out of you if that's what you've been experiencing after watching season 2 and 3. Because I definitely know I had a little bit of a rage for that character, especially the stuff that he subjected Hilda to. So, yeah. And then moving on, let's talk about the history of Oreos. So this story actually came from like a little while ago. So I had come across this article about the history of Oreos, and I don't know how long they've been making these because they're amazing. But I found out that Oreos have actually made more flavors than you could ever imagine in your entire life. They've got a flavor for each country. They've got a flavor for every flavor you can think of. Some of them are completely disgusting, but I think it is genius because in making all of these other Oreos, 1, you can always guarantee that somebody will have a flavor of Oreo that they like, and 2, you can always guarantee that whoever liked the original Oreo will just continue eating it because they'll just compare it to any other Oreo. So it's like you have a win-win. You have people who are really picky about what they're going to eat in terms of cookies, who love the original Oreo cookie, and would just be comparing it to any other Oreo cookies. So either way, Oreo is on their mind. You will always find an Oreo cookie that you like, and even when you're comparing it to bad ones, it's kind of like an exploration. You can try something new, you could not try something new, but either way, Oreo will be on your mind. And I absolutely love that as a concept. I think it's really ingenious. I didn't even think about it until reading this article, but it's amazing. But yeah, could you tell me what you think about Oreos? Because I don't know, I found it absolutely fascinating. It could just be because I love Oreos, but also because it's one of those things when you don't come by it very often, or you don't actually think about it, you don't understand how much like marketing, presentation, and like all of these things really rule your life. Okay, I could live a life without Oreos, but would I want to? Is the ultimate question, right? So hilarious. And then let's talk about COVID. So COVID, of course, is a hot button issue, and I don't want to say anything bad because this is the first pandemic we've had in a little bit, right? Not every government was prepared for it. It kind of highlighted the fact that we need to put our healthcare systems to the forefront. I live in Canada, so the effects on me weren't as maximized as it was for other people, other places. But what I wanted to talk about is a story that I came across that I thought was completely ridiculous. So this story says, right, that the same testing grounds for the original vaccine, right, the trials that you have to do to basically prove that your vaccine is good enough for mass distribution, right? Because these few companies are making it and it's going out basically to the entire world. So the places that were the testing grounds of these vaccines for the trials, South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, and Turkey, right? They actually don't have enough money after hosting the trials that everybody's gonna benefit off of because the actual doses are being administered now. They don't have enough money to buy those doses for their own populations. So the business of vaccines just like blew my mind. Like, I can't believe that this is even a concept. I can't believe that there are people profiting off of other people getting healthy off of like a global pandemic. And I don't mean healthy because the vaccine is just gonna solve all of our problems. Like, I've talked to a few friends who have correctly put me in my place that the vaccine is not solvable. It's more of like a quick fix to help get us out of the dire situation we are realistically in. But it blows my mind that you could take advantage of people like that, basically, is what it is, because these trials weren't done in places like Canada and like United States and like China, who can afford to say no to things that could potentially harm their own people, right? But to take advantage of these countries and then not offer them a way after they basically like helped benefit the rest of us, to like, you know, help their own people, I think is just, it's nuts. It's like part of the world that we become a part of. But I thought it was just, you know, they did us a favor, and basically the companies themselves are just like, so you got the money or nah? And it's not a very compassionate way to treat an issue that was not necessarily one person's fault. I know it's been called like various things in the media, and you know, like everybody wants to place blame, but it's a global pandemic for a reason. And I feel like if we can all get out of this together, then we should all get out of this together. It shouldn't be as arbitrary as you don't have enough money to afford it for your entire population when you helped be a part of the way that we distribute it to the rest of the world. Because of your efforts, we couldn't be here, but we're not gonna help you. Like that, I didn't understand at all. I thought it was like one of the wildest things that you can hear. I don't know if you agree with me. If you do agree with me, please leave a comment below on how you feel like this. But I just thought it was wild, because I don't believe in that as a practice. I don't think it's a good business practice. I don't think it's a good healthcare practice. And I think it ultimately will provide future hurdles rather than solutions to the issue that is a global pandemic with a virus that travels through the air. So I thought it was but if you feel differently, let me know. If you feel the same, also let me know. I love solidarity. But with all that being said, that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining me in this. This is just some stuff I wanted to put out there and share, and make sure that you like and you subscribe and you share and you do all that, and you leave me some comments below about how you feel, and we'll get back together. So with that being said, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.